my number one thing is that because I'm so young, I have so much less, I'll call it baggage behind me. So I don't really have many experiences that would point to something saying, yeah, you can't do that.
Alex, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So you are our youngest mentoring student we've ever had, and I talked to you, a little while ago, and I'm just floored because here you are. Are you out of high school yet?
I'm technically yes.
Technically yes. Okay, because you probably got some whatever advanced credits or whatever, and so you probably are. Okay, well that's pretty cool. Well, you're a great example of someone who. Obviously doesn't have any previous experience. You don't necessarily have a rich uncle either. So you're getting started with this, and you joined a mentoring program, which is a significant investment. But, we're going to talk about that a little bit, why you did that, especially at this juncture when most people wait a few years, they have to get a few years of painful W-2 job under their belt before they go, oh my gosh, I can't do that for the next 30 years, And It was a little different for you. Now talk a little bit about your background. So, how did you first get the idea of real estate? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I've always been pretty entrepreneurial, if you will. Always trying to think of creative ways to make money and grow business because I'm very business oriented. So I've always wanted to have a business.
Where does that come from? Is that you just kind of came out of the womb like that, or are you surrounded by other entrepreneurs?
I want to say I came out of the womb like that because that's not really been like. Yeah, I was very lucky to be born with that.
Well, that's amazing because I'm a born entrepreneur, but I didn't realize it until it was my mid 30s. Like it was like latent, And with you just go like, are you growing up like, oh, I must start a new business. So okay, so all right, so what did you do early on? Like, how did that manifest itself?
Well, how far back do you want me to go? Because I can go back to like 8 years old making a lemonade stand.
All right, we'll start there. I love that.
Well, that was pretty much the extent of the story.
Yeah.
But I'd say it really started to pick up probably I want to say 3-4 years ago. And I'm really good with numbers and math and stuff like that. So I've been working for my parents doing bookkeeping and stuff like that. So I really built my spreadsheet number crunching skills. And at one point I thought I wanted to be a day trader, right? Everyone wants to be a day trader at some point. And then I realized, sitting in front of a computer all day, it drives me nuts because I'm also a people person. And so I like people and I like business. And so I like a business where I have people there.
Yeah.
And so
spreadsheets won't necessarily do that. I get now. Quick question: why were you doing spreadsheets for your parents? Are they entrepreneurs, business owners, or tell me a little bit about your parents?
Yes, my parents own a restaurant in little quaint Stuart, Florida.
Okay, and so you were doing some of the books for them at the time. Cool.
Yeah. So obviously figured out day trading wasn't for me. And I was telling you a little while ago that I go on book binging. I just buy a bunch of books on Amazon every once in a while because I love reading. And so I ended up coming across your book, the fancy yellow book. And I'm going to be honest, it sat on my shelf for a little while just because I never got to it. And when I picked up the book, I was kind of on a little real estate kick, like trying to learn because that's what I wanted to do. I saw myself doing that in the future. And I picked up the book and read it in a day. It totally blew me away. I was not expecting to be able to do what I wanted to do so soon because I always had the preconceived notion you need so much money to get into real estate that it doesn't make sense until way later on. And so here I am today, knowing that you can get into real estate without a lot of money and without a lot of experience.
So, and this is great because, you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, probably one of the first books you've read. And, and I found that it's what my experience has been is that you read this book and it plants this crazy seed of passive income in your brain. You're like, oh, passive income, that's the coolest thing. And of course, Robert Kiyosaki talks about cash flow business and the cash flow quadrant and real estate. Right. But what he fails to tell you is, well, how to actually, what kind of cash flow business and what kind of real estate, right? So it's left to the reader to figure out. Well, most readers, they're watching HGTV, flip this house, flip that house, flip every house. They're on bigger pockets and the Burr method, right? So everyone's thinking, I'm going to start flipping houses. I'm going to landlord, right? And somehow we got to you before then, which is really cool. Now, what led you to believe that you could actually skip that step?
Well, funny enough, for a couple of weeks before I picked up your book, I was actually learning about flipping, and I was considering doing that. But once I picked up the book, I said, there is no way I am going to be doing flipping. Not a chance in the world. I need to be a syndicator.
So, okay, that's pretty interesting. And you jumped through various mindset hoops pretty rapidly, which is pretty amazing because you're still young and adaptable, so it's kind of cool. So you but you skipped a few steps there because it takes a lot of people sometimes years to figure that out. And one of the, we talk about flipping houses because it's what everybody does. Every meetup talks about flipping houses. And the problem is when you shift to apartment buildings, okay, when you say, hey, Alex, you should skip the house flipping stuff because the real money is made with apartments, right? And the biggest objection that pops up in people's minds is, well, that's great, Michael, but I don't have the experience. Let me get some. I don't have the money. Let me get some, by basically investing in single family houses for 5 or 10 years, and then I'll come back to it. And I found also that before you can take any kind of action, you have to believe that you can do something, right? Because if you don't believe you can do something, why would you ever take a step in that direction? It's pointless. So what made you believe, now I know you read the book, and so brainwashing at work, I love that, but what made you believe that you, 18-year-old Alex, can actually become a syndicator without any previous experience?
Well, I think what I would say, my number one thing is that because I'm so young, I have so much less, I'll call it baggage behind me. So I don't really have many experiences that would point to something saying, yeah, you can't do that. And I've also that's kind of just who I am. I've been very lucky to have that kind of mentality. I guess it might've been my parents raised me that way, I guess.
I give no credit to your parents, but yes, they probably did.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so I think that I just ended up thinking, I can do this. I can achieve anything that I want. Now, I'm lucky, as I already said. There are many people who don't think that. And I wish that everyone thought that, because everyone would prosper so much more if everyone just had the mentality that I can do whatever I want to do.
So you're 18 years old. You're technically done. Why did you not pursue college like everybody else around you?
Well, it was kind of something that drifted over time. So originally I was like, okay, I'll go to college. I wasn't exactly sure what path I wanted to pursue. And I think that helped in deciding for me that I wasn't ready to go to college, because I'm now of the belief that if you don't know what you should do for college, you should wait or not go to college at all. Because if you're going to go to college just to go to college, that's a waste of money and a waste of time, in my opinion.
Well,
and so
you're certainly entitled to your opinion. A lot of people disagree with you on that. And
of course.
But, I actually happen to agree with you that if you don't have a plan for college, why make your parents spend $100+ grand on you to figure out your life?
Definitely.
But on the other hand, you got to figure out life, right? So, the other counter argument is that college, encourages independent living, independent thinking, exposes to other perspectives. Therefore, it actually helps you figure out your life. So if you're not going to college, now you're at home all day on Zoom calls all day. You never go to parties. It's a sad life for a teenager, right? So how do you figure out your life?
I was never cool enough for parties.
What's that?
I was never cool enough to get invited to parties.
So it helps to be uncool. Yeah, but still, you got the social aspect that you don't get through college. And, how do you then figure out your life? Should you go right into the, working world? Are you skipping a stage of your life, or is it all baloney?
Well, I'd say that you have to kind of create situations that simulate college if you're not going to go to college. So situations where you're around a lot of people, so you have to network and meet new people, because obviously that's kind of a lot of what college is, meeting new people. And the living on your own aspect, maybe you do things on your own. You try and figure things out. If you have to, maybe move out. Those are all things that you kind of want to simulate college if you're not going to go to college, because that is the one aspect I would say that people are right about, is it does teach you how to live by yourself. And if you don't get that, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Yeah.
So one of the things I've found when I first started one on my own is that my friends and family were not the most supportive, right? Because you're going off the deep end, it will clearly end in catastrophic failure. And so how do your friends react to your decision?
Well, I would say that actually a lot of my friends totally understood. And some of my friends are doing the same thing as me, not necessarily pursuing real estate, but not going to college. My parents were definitely a big help. My mom is totally on board. She's like, yeah, don't go to college. You got this. My dad is a little bit different, but he was also supportive about it. So I'm lucky to have parents like that, because I know a lot of people have very strict parents in the sense that it's more, no, you're going to college because I said so.
Now, why did you get a mentor? Is that something that someone advised you? You just said, hey, this is a great thing to do. And it's also not inexpensive, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to go get a mentor at the local 7-Eleven. Like, so why did you get a mentor?
Well, I will say it was a big step, because even for someone like me, it was still hard to say, well, you can't do this on your own. You should probably seek help. And so naturally, I wanted to just pursue it by myself. I'm thinking, well, if I don't partner with anyone, I get more equity, which means I get more money. And if I don't get a mentorship, then I save money, right? But I think it's more thinking long term. And so I had been hearing lots and lots of people reading books and watching videos, people all saying mentorship is the way to go. You should have someone to push you and to help you so that you make less mistakes. And so I started to see the value in it, and it was a big trigger to pull, but I pulled the trigger and I said, this is what I need. This is right for me. That kind of reminds me, there's this quote about mentorship that I really like. And it goes, a fool never learns from his mistakes. A smart person learns from his mistakes, and a wise person learns from the mistakes of others.
Yeah.
I have no idea where that quote came from, but that's just my favorite quote, because I always strive to learn how to be wise. So I want to learn from the mistakes of my mentor rather than going and making stupid mistakes of my own.